In this video, traders, I'm going to talk about feel versus fear. What's the difference and how can we utilize one and be cautious of the other when we're trading? Stay tuned. Hey guys, very warm welcome to you. Thank you for joining me. Okay, so feel versus fear. What is the difference? So this is the kind of thing that I've thought about quite a lot in my own trading. I've done other videos where we talked about intuition, and I think I'm going to talk more about this in the future. So if you like this kind of stuff and you like being able to understand how intuition and feel and gut feel can play a part in our trading, then make sure you are subscribed and all that other good stuff. So feel versus fear, what is the difference? So you think about when you're in a trade, okay? You're in a trade, or let's say you're not in a trade first. Let's start out with a normal scenario. We all have it every single day we're trading. It's always there. Sometimes it gets the better of some traders more than the other. But let's say you're in a trade, you looked at the trade, doesn't quite set up, or you don't pull the trigger, or something happens where you don't take the trade. Whether that's for your own fault, as in you're not executing your plan, or whether the market isn't quite against your level or whatever, and then it starts to rip off. Let's say it's a long trade. How do you feel? What do you feel? Frustrated. Now, of course, the longer you've been trading, the less frustrated you get, if at all, because you recognize that, hey, there's opportunity going to come and come and come again. When you're a newer trader, you feel more frustrated because you think, that would have been a great trade for me. That would have boosted my P&L. And it's such on a knife edge, your P&L anyway, when you're a new trader and you don't have the longevity to see or you understand it, but you kind of think, well, this one trade's quite important. So you have this fear. And of course, it's called FOMO as well. So we talk about fear of missing out, but that's not only where it occurs. It also occurs when you're in a position, let's say you're in a position, it starts to not work your way and you wonder about whether you should move the stop. You're fearful about taking the loss, perhaps if you haven't got a stop. There's all sorts of scenarios where fear comes in. Maybe you're fearful going into the day because you've had a series of losing days, you're fearful of losing again. Or maybe you've had a series of losing trades, you're fearful of losing again. Now this is fear, and this is just an emotion that's coming in, and it comes in all types of trading. Even if you're doing really well, we've all been there as well. We've got a great trade on, it's running really, really well, and there's a fear, granted it's not as big as some of the other fears, that you might give back some of the profit, and so that might cause you to take action which isn't in your best interest. So we've got that side of the coin, which is fear, and now we're going to look at feel. So what's feel? So feel is when you have a feeling about the market conditions. Now, like I say, we're going to go into a lot more depth into this later on, trying to investigate it together and see how we can marry up with actual strategies, actual probabilities and all this kind of stuff to try and get the perfect combination. But feel is when you're watching the market and you say, okay, you know what? I just don't think that level's going to hold. You don't know why you think that. You can kind of look at some variables and make a kind of suggestion, or maybe it's tagged it for the second time. Maybe the weight's behind it on the daily, whatever it may be. We can talk about actual variables, but you just process that and said, hey, I don't think that level's going to hold, and you can't really understand why. And that is your intuition, if you like. It's your experience in the market. And of course, the more experience you have in the market, the more valuable that can be. When you're a beginner trader, then that is really just based on smaller sample size and is not as useful, but it gets better and better and better and better, which is the great thing about putting the screen hours. And so that isn't fear. And I think a lot of people, and myself included before, have kind of put these together and tried to squash down that feeling, if you like. So let's say you think, I don't think that level's going to hold. Let's say you're long. Let's say you're long, or you think you're about to go long. And this is a great scenario. You say, I don't think that level's going to hold. Now you may say, stop being fearful about this. You're being fearful that you're going to lose money. Now, there's a subtle distinction here. It could well be that you are frightened of losing money. I say frightened in context, let's be honest, it's not like, we're not talking about getting gunned down here, but you're fearful of losing money. And this is something we don't want to do. We want to reduce that. We want to reduce the effect of fear, of FOMO, of giving back profits, all those things which we could put a negative spin on. And we want to harness the ability to allow our intuition and our experience to give us some kind of signal. Now, I'm not saying here that we go and we shoot from the hip and we just, I feel the stock's going up, I'm going to go long. Not at all. I'm not saying this should, replace anything other than, strategies are solid strategies. But I think that we should all perhaps spend a little bit more time recognizing why we feel the way we do when the market is doing something. So why are we fearful from it? Are we fearful because we're worried about losing money? Or is it a warranted, truly useful justification of a fear because for some reason our subconscious has taken in all these variables and has said, you know what? This market may not hold this level. I've seen this before somewhere. I don't know where, I don't know how, but my subconscious mind has processed this and is a little bit concerned about it. Something's not right. And if you look at all the great traders, guys, all the great hedge fund managers, traders, yes, there are some who are obviously purely from a different perspective, but many of them make their judgments based on this. And so as traders, it makes sense for us to try to split these two apart, understand that the fear of losing money, the fear of missing out is one thing, and yes, work on trying to not be affected by that. We'll talk about tactical things to reduce that, like reducing your position size, all these kind of things that we've talked about before. But understanding that actually don't bundle in the fear into that bundle when there's a fear of, hey, I don't think it's going to break out, I don't think this level's going to hold. An operational type fear where it's actually a usable variable. Yes, you might take some time to harness it and some time to adjust it and to rely on it and some hours to put in, but there's two separate distinct things. And as traders, we all try to put emotion into one. Any feeling should be squashed down. We should be trading like robots. And I'm saying to you, and I've seen this before when other traders, is that, hey, if you can split the two, understand what side is the primal fear, if you like, of concern, of losing money, of missing out, all those things, against the fear that actually it's not really a fear, it's just an intuition of where you feel the market is going to go. So maybe some time to think about that, guys. Maybe think about how, and that's why a journal's so useful, because you can start to then separate those thoughts out from the impulsive human nature thoughts of I don't want to lose money to actually the intuition which helps you become a better trader. And I'm going to talk about in future about how we can add some intuition into our trading, because like I say, we don't want to go crazy and just go, I think it's going up, I'm going long, because that's a recipe for disaster. We need some structure and some rules, but there's certainly a place in trading to allow some gut feel, some intuition, to harness on the experiences that we have. Whatever you're doing, guys, take care, keep your risk managed, regardless of feel. At the end of the day, your risk is got to be your risk. You've got to cut the loss. You've got to live to fight another day, live to trade again for the next month, the next quarter. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.